Hi, everyone who's watching, I guess. This morning in our retro, I brought up I mentioned a tool called Keyboard Maestro. So this is basically just a really quick video, just kind of demonstrating how I personally use it. There are obviously other kind of macro tools, and we might learn from others that might have other tools. And then Chad might have some thoughts that he wanted to add too. Um, so with that, I'll just jump in. So there are two goals. One is to do a quick demo of Keyboard Maestro, and then second, answer any questions. So Chad, if you end up having any, then obviously feel free to jump in at any moment. So um, basically, Keyboard Maestro is a just kind of a automation tool, kind of at the operating system level, basically, and it can do all kinds of things. There are a bunch of built-in macros to do all kinds of things, as you can see from here, to lowercasing, simple things like lowercasing text, flipping images, going to certain links, activating different programs, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and then naturally, there are custom ones that you can create. So I actually used this quite a bit when I was working on the Meltano project. So I have a few custom ones here. Meltano find source, Meltano issues. So if I wanted to create an issue in the Meltano project specifically, it was just really easy to have a quick command to kind of automate that task, because it ended up happening frequently enough during meetings and things that it was just a lot easier to type a couple characters and then kind of kick off that whole process. Um, so I hadn't actually used it for a while, and then I was more recently, for whatever reason, I kind of remembered that I should probably end up using this. So that's basically what happened. So the main pain points that I had were with respect to the GDK update process. So basically, and this is all the documented, but you have to kind of pluck out the pieces. So I ended up just writing this super simple. You could do this on the command line too, but since I'm already used to launching Keyboard Maestro to do other tasks, it was kind of the single source of truth way to um, kind of automate. So all this task does is it basically I hit, and you can do different key configurations to launch the tool. So if I'm here and I hit Command tilde, that's what I personally prefer. Then you can just search for whatever you want. So I'd type in GDK. The match that I have is GitLab GDK update, and I would just hit enter, and it would basically paste all this snippet of code and then hit return for me automatically. So in the specific use case I'd have for this, I'd basically do this in the command line, and then it would stop the GDK, update it, reconfigure it, start it, cd into the GitLab repo, call bundle install, do the potential DB migration that often occurs, then run yarn to make sure all the front end packages are there. And then oftentimes there's a file that we don't need to keep as a result of the migration. So I just get reset hard, and then I cd back out. Um, and before I would do, some of this was automated, but the other half wasn't. So basically, anyway, long story short, that's something I did. Another thing when and this is something I mentioned to you, Chad, this morning, running into pipeline issues after you submit an MR because of our kind of aggressive, strict danger bot, or you forget to run tests or something. I specifically don't have tests in this specific example, but I could if I wanted to, because I usually like to do it at a particular subset of the repo, so I'm not running all the tests, which takes a lot longer, obviously. So this one is a simple ESLint and then run the danger bot locally. So this is really nice to learn if something's wrong prior to better than finding it out when it's on GitLab running in the pipeline there. Another really simple one I have is GitLab issues. Like when I'm creating a new issue, the labels for the static site editor, there are a bunch of ones that we're supposed to be using. I initially had this in my Slack just under my own name. It was like in Slack and then snippets, but since we have every 90 days they get erased, it got erased, and I was like, all right, this is another good example of where I could just use Keyboard Maestro. Another one that I really like, so this is Paul Slaughter created this. So conventional comments. So again, how I would use it is if I'm in a code review, for example, I forget all the labels for that. So I go like that and then say conventional comments and hit it. And then it kicks me straight to that page, obviously, and then takes me via deep linking straight to the label. So I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted to do a suggestion versus a thought or something like that. So that's just a personal thing I like. And then another one I had was for colors. So sometimes I think you could probably just double click it to launch it too. Oh, maybe not. So if I hit color, this is just a way to kind of quickly get a bunch of colors. Obviously, you could do different ways to do this, but this is just kind of handy in some scenarios. Naturally, with any kind of automation tool like this, you can do whatever you want. But those are basically the main custom ones I have. So Chad, yeah, I don't know if you had any thoughts or wanted to add to this or.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Like I was discussing on Slack, it's sort of a trade-off between spending the time automating things, but then you like forget how to actually do the things when you need to keep that knowledge in your head, or it breaks and it rots, or the tool is discontinued, or the world moves along. But so it's a balance. But this looks like uh, a widely used tool that's established, and so from that perspective, it's not like it's going to get discontinued. So it does look really handy. The one quick note there, I think GDK actually does the migrations for you automatically, and maybe Yarn too. You may not need that, but doesn't hurt. One question I did have, does it have support for, like in this case, I might want to run this like while I'm in the GitLab tab and not necessarily change to the tab that's already in my GDK directory, which this assumes. So does it have a way to like capture stuff? If I could say, because one thing it always does is like it leaves you on master, and then you have to find what branch you were on, and which I usually just copy out of my prompt from the history. Is there a way that it can capture stuff? Like say I run, get status and capture the name of the branch with some regex, and then use that later in the script to switch back to the branch without having to do it manually?
That's a great question. I think that would be under oh yeah, here we go. Here's the answer. I think record down here. I don't specifically know, but I would imagine that's there. Like I remember like in Photoshop and other tools have like I think it was referred to as actions, but same idea is like essentially has some level of variability, dynamicism in it, within it to allow you to do that. So I think so. I haven't personally done that. On my PC, I use it since this is Keyboard Maestro. I think this is like a Mac specific thing, but for like my personal projects on my PC, I have a couple. I think it's called AutoKey, and that's a pretty handy little tool. Basically, because I have like multiple desktops, and it's a way to kick me straight to the desktop I want to be on, and also launch. It's kind of for Unity development. Launch my code editor or Unity itself, and the autoplay as well. So it's kind of a really handy feature. But
Yeah, and it does mouse dragging stuff too.
that I don't know. I don't do that. Yeah. So basically, like these are all the ones I do. I basically probably
Uh,
leverage like a very small percentage of it. A lot of it's launching uh, URLs. Obviously, I think I want to. Yeah, I think because naturally because you can have parameter arguments in the URL, you could obviously pre-do some stuff on certain pages, so that's pretty handy too, right? Like for a particular template for an issue or something. I think I used to do that.
cool.
Maybe not. But anyway, yeah, I recommend checking it out. I actually learned about it from Ben Hong, who I worked on the Meltano team with too. So he actually brought this up to me, and it's pretty damn handy. I'm sure there are other tools, but yeah, this one's I have no complaints with it, so it's pretty cool.
It's interesting that you use it for URLs, because I have, when I started it, I use what is the name of it? Sync Marks, which
Okay,
is sort of the open source successor to Xmarks, to manage my bookmarks. And I have like a personal profile of bookmarks. And then when I started GitLab, I started the GitLab profile.
gotcha.
And I've tried to be as organized as I could about them and keep them in categories and stuff. But even then, as you get more and more, it's like, oh, where was that one
Sure.
bookmark in my bookmarks bar? And being able to do a quick, uh, substring search,
Sure.
even if I did have it in my bookmarks, would probably be really helpful.
Yeah, you might even be able to like launch. your bookmarks and then have, again, because you can just type and have it type for you, right? You can might be able to search through that or something. I don't know. One thing I think I kind of mentioned this, but um, just the developer experience, the ergonomics of just being able to go command tilde is like really nice, right? It's like literally a left hand slide like that, and it just launches it, and then I can just search, right? So that's the basically the omni search type functionality that I get specifically in VS Code, but I'm sure you get it in like almost any editor. When you, for example, you know exactly what file
Yep.
you want to open, you're not going to manually click through all the directories to get there. You just want to trigger whatever that action is to start searching for the thing you want, hit enter, you're at the file you want, or any other commands that you want. So it's basically
Yeah,
how to build
JetBrains
off.
has the same thing, Command Shift A. It's like some of them have key bindings, but like that's always the fallback. Like for resolve conflicts, it doesn't have a default key binding, and I always just search for it.
Nice. Yeah, search is yeah, obviously super handy, but
Command tilde, that one may not be. Often also in JetBrains, like it has so many built-in key bindings. It's often a trick to find one that's not stopping on
yeah,
the default, which I hate to do, and then like configure the external one to something different that doesn't conflict.
sure. And the good ones are already used.
Yeah, I have the philosophy, like I try to use the defaults everywhere.
Sure,
Like
I'm
just
with you
force
there.
myself to learn them, because then the same philosophy, like, okay, then when they break or the world moves on, I don't have to figure out what the new thing is. But the IDE always like takes the priority whenever it conflicts with
Sure.
something else.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's I can't think of it specifically, but I know like generally speaking, that's something I try to do as well because again, going from like Mac at work and then on my personal time when I'm doing personal stuff, it's on my PC. So that gets double as complex if you, you know, like trying to remember all the commands because now you got to control everything versus command, which isn't, that's an easy mapping, but
Yeah,
you're having to do more mental mapping than you'd like to do. So yeah, I agree with you there.
yeah, that mental switch is that goes back to like some things I like to do just so I force myself to remember them. Because like whenever I go to Windows, it's the mouse wheel because I like the natural scrolling, and it's like,
Gotcha.
oh my gosh, I can't scroll. I don't know which way I'm going. It hurts my brain when I go to Windows.
I'm with you. Like, so, and again, it's like a trade-off, right? It's like, sometimes you want to automate things and sometimes you know you can and should. Like, so for example, when you say, and I totally agree with you, you can start to forget what it is that you have to do. So this is, I'm obviously way past that point, but I don't even have aliases for all my Git commands. I still type them all out. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
that
sometimes I have like keys or like control R to search, and obviously I use that stuff, but I don't have
I have
aliases set up.
two aliases. I have GST for get status
Gotcha.
and get CI for check-in. Everything else I do manually from the command line, other than resolving conflicts, which I
Yeah,
do in the IDE,
sure.
because I want myself to always remain proficient with the Git command line and know how to get myself out of edge cases that I always get into.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you there for sure. That's cool. Cool. Well, I think that's basically it, unless you wanted to hit on anything else. So.
No, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course.
I'm definitely gonna try it. It's one of those things like I know I should have gotten better at, but I never uh, took the time to research a tool that I thought would be good enough for me to invest my time in. So this looks like it might be it.
Yeah, like I said, props to Ben Hong for recommending it. And like I said, like I used it a lot on Meltano, and then obviously I've been on the static side editor team for I don't know 5-6 months now, and it's just a few weeks ago I was like, oh yeah, I need to start using this again. So I even forgot, right? Like it's easy to forget. So
Yeah, one of the metaphors that made me think of is like when are things useful or not? And for example, unit testing, like shell scripts or automation scripts that are just automating some sysadmin or DevOps task. I found that those are kind of pointless to unit test because you invariably, especially if it's like a bash script, it's really hard to test anyway. But even in Ruby, it's you'll end up unit testing exactly what you think it is supposed to do, and then that's not actually the thing that it needs to do, and then you manually test it and then change the script to make the thing do what it actually needs to do, and then update your unit test just to reflect that. Say, okay, I executed this command, which is like, it's pointless. You're not driving behavior, and you're not really providing any regression coverage. So that's why I don't tend to test unit scripts. So it's sort of the same philosophy, like when is something actually useful or not, and it depends. The standard consultant's answer.
That's true. I used to hate that too, like learning a program. It's like, I just want to know the right way to do it. And it's like, well, it depends. But there is obviously a lot of right ways, but when you're starting out, there's so many ways in a lot of cases, depending on what you're trying to solve. So it's kind of interesting.
Well, thanks a lot.
Of course. Well, I'll upload this to YouTube as well. So, all right. Thank y'all, and I'll catch you later. See you, Chad.
Bye.